Thank you for being on. I'm so excited.
I'm actually very excited. This is our brand new Parsippany, New Jersey office for EPM, and we're so excited. You know, we're here and we're collaborating, and it's, you know, exciting times.
And I know you're such a busy woman, okay? Because you are always growing. So thank you for taking time to do this for us. And to give a pleasure. And your expertise, you know, that's really what it is.
You know, that whole word mentorship even, right? You know, it's interesting that years ago, I always thought to myself, like, what does that mean, right? What does it mean to be a mentor? And where do you get to that point where it's like, well, why are you, like, what makes you a mentor, right? What makes you a mentor? And I remember, like, when the first time that somebody came to me and said, will you be my mentor? I kind of looked at them and I thought to myself, well, what makes me qualified to give anyone else advice about anything, right? Like, in my brain, I almost thought to myself, like, what does that mean? Like, I would be nervous to share, you know, information. And then as time went on, I realized how special that is, because being a mentor, I learned so much from the other people that I work with, that it's a two-way street. The amount of things that I learned from the people that trust me to share a piece of their life with me, I almost feel like I get a bigger value than the other people. So, Blaine, you know, on that note, I would say to anyone that's listening to this right now, be a mentor. Share a piece of yourself and be open to learn from the other people, because it is truly a blessing. And I will also say that everyone needs a mentor, and everyone should be a mentee at all stages of their career, regardless of where you are.
That's a great way to start. Okay. I'm like, I have my whole script here of how I want to start us today. Okay.
We didn't even get started yet, Blake.
We didn't even get started. But it's just like when you start speaking, it's like, wow, y'all feel that? Because I'm like, Laura, see, this is why we need you every day, Laura. Okay. Your positivity just radiates and it so shines. And it's like, you're absolutely right. If we're not willing to grow, then what's going on? You know, and that's what some people say. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right. And that's so harsh to say, seemingly, but it's like, we got to grow. We got to always do our best and continue to learn and take processes and take it up. So I am just so nervous and so excited to talk with you about this, Laura. Okay. I'm just going to admit to y'all joining.
You are so funny, Blaine. Don't be silly.
Well, you know, I'm so excited to see everybody joining in. Thank y'all for coming in. It's so wonderful to see so many of you. We took a little break from a lot of our culture calls over the summer, just so that we could kind of reassess. We did a lot of learning and listening, as Laura was saying before you joined, that to be a mentor, it takes listening as well. To be a mentee and a mentor, they're very similar. So we were listening a lot. And so we took a little break just to kind of give you some time, but we're so excited to be back and learn from Laura today. So we're going to get started in just a minute. As always, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. We'll be facilitating that, but we are here to learn about what it takes to get to Laura's position. You know, Laura, like, how do we're just I'm so nervous. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just so excited. That's really what I should say. And nervousness and excitement seem very similar to me. I'm just so excited to be here with everybody.
We have to be careful though, Blaine, because the two of us, our energy is like explosive. I mean, it's like fireworks, right? So we have to like make sure that we don't like blow up the camera here.
I know. And I was like, that's what I was telling Lexi beforehand. I said, I was like, I gotta play to Laura, because we can really be, you know, like, bow, and that it's a lot of fun. So we hope today that you are able to learn a lot. But I am so happy to be here with y'all today. This is really bringing me so much joy. I've been looking forward to this all week, and we've been planning this for a while. So I'm so excited to have y'all. For those who aren't aware of the intention of this call is to speak to one of our executives and what about growth, what it takes to grow, what it takes to be a mentor, what it takes to be a mentee, what that looks like to get to a position like Laura. And so who better to kick this off again? So we used to do this last year and we took some time off. We have all these new executives and we're so excited. So who better to kick this off? Talking about growth and how to approach that. Then our Chief Growth Officer, Ms. Laura Brandao, who has joined us this past year. So if you've had the pleasure of talking to, or being in the audience at any time, Laura's a great speaker. So she really knows how to bring a room up and leave you being like, whoa, I just went to church. Okay. You get such a great,
Amen.
you get such a blast of energy. And it's just so funny when you talk to, when I talk to Laura and I'm like, how did you get into this? She's like, I don't really, it just I just took a step. So we're going to talk about that. And so Laura, we know that you can lead us here today because you have so many accolades. You're just coming off of winning. So for the 5th time, Housing Wire's Woman of Influence for the 5th time. So congrats to that. So let's give you a round of applause, being a woman of influence. So we're ready for your influence today. We want to know what it takes. So thank you for being here, everybody. I do have some questions over here that is going to guide us, but we know Laura, right? Laura, you are going to bless us with your honesty and your truth and your energy and your positivity today. So I would love for us to start with just, you're a great speaker. You are a coach, right? You work with 2020 Vision and you lead the women's coaching there, correct?
Yep, Women with Vision. Yes, I'm the
Women
chair
with Vision,
of Women with Vision. That's correct.
Women with Vision. Yes, I got to see you. We went to Tampa and I got to see you there in your beautiful dress and your hair was so done up. I was like, Laura, your hair. So let's start there. What got you into coaching, right? You said, because we just started talking about that before everyone else has logged in. So let's go back. What got you into coaching?
So everything is a progression, right? So what did you say when we first started kicking off? You said, if you're not growing, I won't say you're dying, but you're going backwards, right? You're not moving forward. So think about it, right? I've been in the mortgage industry since the late 90s. And yes, I've done many different things and kind of different roles and different experiences, but I always look to challenge myself. I always look to continue to grow in many, many different ways. So when I became, Christine, my good friend, right, the president and owner of 2020 Vision, when she came to me in 2020 and said, Laura, I really want to grow the women's division of my coaching area. And she said, will you please become the chair of this? And I said, well, listen, I'm very, very, very passionate about developing women leaders and giving women the confidence and the tools and the knowledge and education and inspiration in order to become their best selves. So yes, I would love to do that. And I did do that. Well, a couple months into it, I said to myself, this is a coaching firm. I said, and I don't do coaching. That's not something that I've ever done. And I said, you know what? I need to challenge myself. I need to put myself out there to actually say, well, let's see if all this experience and everything else that I've learned in the industry for all these years, maybe I can give a little bit of piece of information back. Well, I realized, you don't know what you don't know. You make assumptions, all of us. We make assumptions and we think that because somebody has gone on this path or this journey in their life, or someone wears this title across their chest of, I am a processor, I am a director, I am a VP, whatever that is, right? We kind of put people into a box and we say, well, if they're a VP, then they're this. And if they're a C level, they're this. Or if they're entry level, they're this. That is not accurate. That's not accurate at all, because every single one of us is a unique individual with our own unique superpowers that need to be pulled out and shine on the entire world. So when I started coaching, I made those same assumptions. I was like, oh, well, this person owns a broker shop. So I'm assuming this person knows this, or that this person experienced this. I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. And so coaching's just an example of, I like to challenge myself to put myself into different things, because every single time I do it, I learn something, I grow, and it makes me a better everything, a better leader, a better mother, a better wife, a better Laura. It makes me better. And that is the reason why I continue to challenge to do different things.
That sounds like unifying through collaboration, right? Immediately is what that sounds like. Also showing the way and also owning your uniqueness. It's like in one little fell swoop, you just kind of hit all the four core. Okay. Way to go, Laura. Okay. I don't know if that was intended, but I was like, dang, Laura is she is living the talk. When we get, okay, so you start out your career. Let's talk about some of the titles that you've held over your life, right? We talk about, like, you just were talking about the title doesn't signify where we are, right? You know, so let's just talk about some of your titles that you've held right now. What are some of the titles you hold right now?
So right now, right this minute, so I am the Chief Growth Officer for EPM. When we open up Lighthouse Lending Capital, I will be the CEO of Lighthouse Lending Capital. I am the chair of the Women with Vision. I am the chair of the New Jersey MBA Women's Committee. I am a board member of the New Jersey MBA. I am the chair of the NAMBA Visionary Ambassador Program, and I'm a board member of NAMBA. I'm also a board member for Mortflix, which is a streaming service for the real estate and mortgage industry. So I think those are all my titles.
Is that enough, Laura?
I think so.
I
think that's it.
Yeah, that's insane. How do you balance all of that?
So very organized.
I was about to say, what did your calendar look like?
I would not be able to do all of that. I also have a lot of help. I have the most amazing, Vicky's right in front of me.
I was like, where's Vicky?
One. Vicky's right in front of me. So one is I couldn't live my life without Vicky. So that is absolutely 100%. She keeps me organized. She makes sure that I have everything on time and that we're always, and the best part about Vicky and I's relationship is that we don't even have to speak often. She just knows. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, we've been together so long that it's like, okay, Vicky, I need a blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden in my email or through whatever, she's like, here's the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how did you even know what I was asking? Well, because 2 years ago, you asked for something similar. And so I saved it. And so I have this for you. So one is that, and my husband. Honestly, I have to tell you, for anybody that follows me on social media, I have to share with you that all of that stuff on social media, it's my husband posting all of that. Every day, my husband has a calendar and my husband posts all that stuff for me. And he does all of my social media. He has a full-time job. Don't get me wrong, that's not his job. He has a full-time job, but he knew that we're in it together. And he knows that I need that help. So he makes sure that, I'll give you an example. I actually shout out to the wonderful men that support us out there and the wonderful women that support the men. I came home on Saturday from the EPM wholesale event, and I was gone almost a week. I was in Atlanta from Tuesday morning until Saturday. And of course, he picked me up from the airport on a Saturday. And I walked into the house and he had fresh flowers on the table, the entire house cleaned. The wash was done. My car was washed. And he literally was like, you are good, Laura. What else do you need? So how do you get all that stuff done? Find an amazing partner and team that is there to support you.
Oh, just spoken like a true leader, Laura. Okay. That's so wonderful to hear. And yeah, shout out to Vicky, because Vicky is, and Tony too. When we were at the summit or the Women for Vision in Tampa, Tony was there and he was taking pictures for you, right? He did not stop taking pictures. He was always there. Me and Shalonda, we got to spend a lot of time together, Shalonda Dixon, our chief of staff. And we were just singing his praises. And it was so wonderful to see you in such, I've seen you in the office, I've seen you speak, I've seen you, all these different ways. And it just your grace and the way you command a room and the way you approach people, it truly is something that is just, your heart is in everything you do. So with that being said, you didn't start with all of these titles, right? You had to get to that place. What was a singular piece of advice that you have held on to throughout all of your career?
My biggest thing, and you mentioned about the titles thing, right? So I want to go backwards. All right. Okay. So I know a lot of you have heard my story, but I'll refresh it for anyone that doesn't know. The way that I came into the mortgage industry is I was working part-time nights as a telemarketer while I was home with my young child, okay? What I remember the biggest, so my first title was telemarketer. That was my first title in the mortgage industry, okay? And something I learned, even when I got promoted to being a telemarketing supervisor and a call center manager and director of operations at a marketing company, right? No matter what it was, my job was to make sure that my teams and anyone else that I was serving had what they needed to be successful. Back when I was a telemarketing supervisor, I can always remember climbing under the desk to like plug in things for people. Cause I was like, you stay on the phone. Like the most important thing is you need to stay on the phone and I'll climb under the desk or I'll get you whatever you need. You just stay and do what you need to do. That never changed in my entire career. To this day, it is more important for our processors or underwriters or loan officers or account executives or whatever to have what they need than it is to be worried about me. So I think the biggest thing is, regardless of, I told you, it doesn't matter about the badge that people wear, because at the end of the day, you always have to think about who you're serving, whether it's your team, whether it's the families that you're helping, whether it's the brokers, the realtors, the whoever it is. If you keep them in mind first, everything else will work out. You will fulfill your own dreams when you put other people first.
That sounds great. It sounds a bit like, are you a Disney fan, Laura?
Yes, of course.
And this is for all my Disney fans out there, but the Disney World, the magic of the place, they are the character that they say they are, and they want the magic of it. That sounds like you always have the magic in mind of what people want and making that experience great. And that's the piece of advice. Just keep everybody, keep the other people in mind. And that's
if you take care of them, you will wind up being taken care of double, triple, 10 times over. Just put them first. As long as you do that, everything else will fall into place.
We do have a question from Lexi that is funny, and she said, where did you find your husband? On Amazon Prime?
Yeah, if only it was that easy, right? We were high school sweethearts. So I mean, it just and Lexi, I'll tell you, I say it all the time. People know me, that I say that if I didn't meet him before I got into the mortgage business, like it all happened the way it was supposed to. Let's just put it that way, right? I was supposed to meet him very young, and I was supposed to have a child very young, and then everything kind of stepped into place the way it was supposed to. But I know that if I started working, meaning in my career, I am absolutely a workaholic. I admit it. I own it. I love what I do. I don't ever look at it like work. I enjoy the thrill. I enjoy helping people. My big word, especially for this year, it's impact. I want to make a huge impact in everything that we do. And so if I didn't meet my husband when I was 17 years old and I just started working, I don't know, I might be single to this day.
Well, I guess some of us are out of that then, because that's a different story. All right, so I have a question for you here. You talked about before maybe everyone logged in that you love challenging yourself. I think we went over all of these titles and all of this in the coaching and all the hats that you wear. But how, if somebody is just starting out, or if we aren't at that space yet, right? How do we take ownership of our learning? How do we say, how do we find those spaces to know, how do we do that? How do we take ownership in our learning?
So I think very, very easy. It's actually funny. I was on a call just earlier with a team member, and she was saying that she's newer to EPM and in her role. And she said to me, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And I'm going to give that right back to you guys. The biggest way to take ownership of your learning is to ask lots of questions of everyone. I will tell you that as I was coming up through my career, I can remember, and it's funny, my career started in sales, right? It was starting a sales organization. It was growing sales. It was myself selling, right? It was all sales. And the way that I got into operations is that I generated so many sales with this amazing team that I built that the operations team, they couldn't keep up with it. So here I was at 27 going, all right, I got to figure out how to do operations now. Well, how did I do that? I sat down, I came in early with a big basket of hot muffins and I brought them over to the underwriting and processing teams. And I'm like, ladies, I have breakfast for you. I would love to sit and learn about everything that you do in a day. Do you have time for us to do that? And every morning I would come in early, and every morning I would sit and I would take notes and I would ask them questions. And guess what? Within 6 months, I was Chief Operations Officer. That was my first executive title at 27. All because, not because I was trying to be COO. That was not why it happened. It was because I was trying to solve a problem that operations couldn't keep up with all the sales that were coming in. So I had to figure out how to help them. I had to figure out how to help the clients and the salespeople and the borrowers. So because I put them first, it turned out that I asked questions, I learned how to do the job. And yes, I was rewarded, but that wasn't why I did it. I didn't do it thinking I was trying to become that. It was to help others. Ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah. And surround yourself with people who are going to help. You know, we are learning so many things from you today. We have a few questions. Let's see, Laura, this is from Aubrey. I just want to say you melt my heart. The sound of love when you talk about your husband is just fantastic. You inspire me. So I just want to call out that. Frank says, can you tell us a little bit more about Lighthouse?
Lighthouse Lending. So Lighthouse Lending is going to be our private lending division for EPM. So it's not ready yet. We, like you guys all heard when I first started here, we have to have a strong foundation at EPM first. I need to make, and we're getting, every single day we get closer, right? So we are moving in the right direction and everyone is doing a phenomenal job. So we are getting closer. The Lighthouse Lending will be the private lending division for EPM. So it'll be, still owned by EPM, still part of EPM. We're just going to have it under a different name because it's not going to have the same type of products. So stay tuned. It will be here. So I'm thinking probably will be in the beginning of 23. So I'm thinking 22 will be all focused in on our foundation and getting strong. And then I'm thinking probably the beginning of 23.
Oh, so Frank, follow along.
Keep a watch.
Keep watch, yeah. Frank. Christy Rojas says, do you like to take an approach of positive connotations to stay more in abundance mentality and mode?
Oh, wow. What a lovely question. So to answer that, I don't see life any other way. In my brain, there is nothing that ever comes into my brain that I can't get past. And there is never a scarcity mindset. I don't believe anyone has to lose for someone to win. I believe that we all have our ability to win. And why that is what I want is probably different than what you want. And what you want is probably different than the other person next to you. So our dreams and our goals and what we want out of life is special to us. Everyone has a different definition of what that looks like. So there is no scarcity. And there is never a time for you to look at that. And as far as the positive mindset, listen, I don't live in a bubble where bad things don't happen. Bad things happen. We live, we're alive. We have life. We can't control every single thing that happens in our lives, but it's how you look at them and how you approach that and how you're going to get past it. So I can't look at things in any other way but positive and in an abundance mindset.
What do you think is the source of your confidence?
I think I know I'm repeating myself, but the thing about taking care of others, I said this just the other day. It is such a blessing that I had a child very young. I was only 19 when I had my first child from my high school sweetheart, right? So I think I was mama bear so early in life that my whole life was surrounded in taking care of other people. Again, whether it was my company, whether, the teams, whether it's my family, whether my friends, whether it's organizations that I'm building, I've always had this mindset of taking care of others. Well, and all my women here can appreciate this. We know that we can literally lift a car if we had to go and lift the car because our child or that was there, we would be able to do it. My confidence comes from always being that protector of making sure that I take care of the company or the family or whatever. So the confidence is my own confidence. It's in confidence of knowing that I will do whatever it takes to make sure that we are safe and protected. So that's where it comes from. It's actually not about me. It's still about others.
Yeah. And I hope that you would have led that way. So I'm glad, because it's so true. So when we think about our teams or people we mentor, right? Like you said, everybody is a mentor and a mentee. You always got to be able to learn and don't gatekeep what you learn and all of these things, right? So what is something that you look for if somebody were to approach you like Izzy asks, how can we contribute or join to Women of Vision, right? If somebody were to reach out to you and say, hey, I would love for you to be my mentor, what are things that you look for people? What makes Vicky so great? Like, what are these things that you look for, qualities you look for, so that we can know?
So it's actually interesting, right? So the MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association, came out with a mentoring program. I think it was the beginning of the year. I think like January or February, right? And their mentoring program is pretty interesting because what they do is you go on and you say, and you pick any mentor, right? So there's tons of mentors on there. And it's funny, like I get selected from time to time based on my bio. It's not people I know. And it's funny, the first time that I was chosen, I actually discontinued the conversation. And I'll tell you why. Because the first time I had the call with this young lady, right? She's a loan officer in Florida. And I had a great call and she did nothing. She didn't do any of the work. She didn't do any of the assessment, meaning really embracing what she wanted in life and what her plan was. And she did nothing to contribute to the relationship. And a mentor and a mentee is a two-sided relationship. Both people have to give and take. That's how you have a successful mentor and mentorship relationship. So I told the MBA, I'm out. I'm like, my time is very valuable. And I'm sorry, if someone is not dedicated to it, I cannot proceed. So I got the second young lady. Okay, so the second young lady comes and we go through the same thing. This young lady will go places. She came to that second meeting extremely prepared with a list of questions saying, Laura, I had this happen and what's your advice on this? And Laura, I did these things that you asked me to do and let me give you my homework assignments. That girl did phenomenal. And she came out of that mentorship raising the level and having a clear plan for the next 5 years of her career and what needs to happen in order to be effective. So I guess the biggest thing is to make sure that the connection works, because not everyone will. It has to be a mutually beneficial relationship in order to do that, right? So I think finding the right mentor and mentee, it's a little bit of matchmaking, to make sure that you care about each other enough to want to value that progression, but also you're accountable to stay true to what's required to make it beneficial. So that's what I would say on that.
And continuing with that, so when we look for somebody to be our mentor, that's what we should look for as well. Should it be like, it's like, Laura, I've noticed that you were 19 when you had your son, and you, and I related to that. I think I pulled you aside. I was like, my mom was 16, and that really relates to me. Look how far you've come, and I love that. So when we look for a mentor, it's like, okay, somebody who we can connect with, somebody who we want to show up for, somebody who we know has led a path of growth themselves.
Yes, exactly. Someone that again, it should be someone you respect. It should be someone that thinks similar to you, someone that can fill in some voids that maybe you are missing, right? Like looking to give you that advice, but also don't do it unless you are committed to the relationship. It cannot be one-sided. It's very important that you also show up, not that someone's just going to say, here, let me map out the next 5 years of your career and what you need to do. I mean, it needs to be, okay, we're in this together and I'm going to do the work in order to do that. And it's funny. I had a woman, and Vicky knows her name. So last October at the MBA conference, I had a woman drive 5 hours to come and meet me in person because she followed me on LinkedIn for a year. And she drove 5 hours to come and meet me. Her name is Wendy. And she wound up being one of my mentees. I wound up putting her on stage with me at the Lenders One conference last March because they were doing a mentee-mentor, partnership. And I put her on stage. It was the first time she was ever in public on a stage in front of this Lenders One group. That woman, I don't want to necessarily share her personal information, but she reached out to me. I haven't talked to her in 2 months. She reached out to me 2 days ago. And she has a personal woman situation that she wanted to share with me. Because not only from yes, I helped her on a business side, she felt such a connection from a mentorship side. And her story is her parents passed away. She doesn't have any parents. And I even said to my husband, Tony, that night I spoke to her driving home on Monday night. And I said, Tony, she needed a mom. This woman actually needed a mom. She needed someone that she could share this very personal information with. And so when you're looking for that mentor, and a mentor could be a man or a woman, of course, regardless of what gender you are, you don't have to mentor with a woman if you're a woman, and you have to mentor with a man if you're a man. Like it can be whatever that you have that connection. But again, allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to even say, I'm going through this personal situation, because it's not just business, it's your whole person.
Thank you. I got to shout out Eric Skates here because he is, I'm so grateful to work with him. He's like my mentor every day. He helps me and we get to be so vulnerable together. Yesterday was a very vulnerable day to us. So I definitely am like, yes, that is so true. Vulnerability and communication really can make us do wonders, and having the support system that we need. There's a lot of questions here. We've got like 3 minutes left. So I'm sorry, but Shalonda said, thank you for being transparent and providing great advice. You were greatly appreciated. So thank you, Shalonda, for saying that. But thank you, Laura, for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule with all these hats that you wear to just give us some advice, to challenge ourselves, to surround ourselves with people who are going to understand the vision as well, to pour into our teams, to get in and learn, and don't be afraid to get messy, and to ask questions and be vulnerable, and to continue to learn and to continue to grow and be excited about it. The fact that we get to grow, it's not something that we necessarily have to do, but that you get to grow, and that we work for EPM where we are empowering people more in all stages of different places. So thank you, Laura. Just to end so there's so many questions here. I'm just gonna see. Eric said, what are some skills or tips you have when you interact with someone who is just a ball of negativity?
Oh yeah, that's tough. I mean, I think you have to listen to them, because if someone is negative, there's a reason. There is something more that you have to dive into. So I think going back to that asking questions thing, ask them some questions. Get them to open up to you, because that negativity is coming from somewhere. There is something in that core. There is something they need to share with you. It might not have anything to do with, if you work with them, might not have anything to do with work. It could be something that's happening at home. It could be something that they're mad at themselves about. Right? Think about that. There'd be something that they're disappointed in themselves about. So I would say, don't give up on them. Everyone has light inside of them. We were all born as perfect, beautiful babies. Over time, we learn that negativity. We've got that.
That's beautiful. So we got like 2 minutes left. So thank you, Laura, again for being here. This is our Mission Mentor segment. Next week, we'll have Mission MVP, which talks about, or we highlight you who are working every day and shining and being an MVP. And we'll have the wonderful and amazing Darla Devlin on next week. So I can't wait to have her be on. So y'all be ready for that. So this one is about how do we get to where you are, Laura? And then next week with the Mission MVP, it's what does this look like in action? So Darla, I can't wait to speak to you next week. Laura, thank you for being here. Thank you all for joining. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. It is Thursday, so we're getting closer to the weekend, but you guys keep killing it. You're doing a wonderful job out there. So sending my love to you all, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care, everyone.